live. Howdy, welcome to the live stream that I am doing today with me, Rachel, and I am waiting to see if YouTube is working, because that's the one I've been having trouble with lately. My fingers are crossed. You can't see them, but they are. All right, Twitch is fine. Howdy, howdy, good to see y'all. And YouTube is working, yes, success, fantastic, very happy to see that. Welcome, happy to see y'all. We are doing something today that I think is kind of fun, and that is we're gonna try a new IDE. Well, it's new to you, it's new to you. It might be new to you, it's definitely new to me. We're gonna be trying DataSpell. So this is, first off the bat, this is in early access, so your results may differ if you join the program after me. Anybody can sign up, you just send an email to their page. And I have not used it previously, so before today I downloaded it, opened it to make sure it worked. I just checked for updates before the stream, and that's it. That's all I've done. So we're gonna work through it for the first time together. If you are wondering why I can talk about IDEs for data science, I can tell you all my little story about IDEs for data science. I'm gonna say, first off, I am an RStudio stan. I love RStudio. My sort of graduate work, R was the first language I spent a lot of time in. These days I mostly work in Python, but I still got a little R-shaped hole in my heart. Pi Cascade shirt, so perhaps obviously I also do Python. And in grad school, when I started first using Python for stuff, and to give you some time depth if you're working in NLP, this was back when NLTK was the hot library everyone was using for their NLP stuff. It's still a good library, it's got a lot of stuff in it, but I would say not one I use as much anymore. I tried PyCharm, and I was trying to do, I think I was working actually with ASR stuff. I don't think I was working with NLTK then. And it was so far so good working with it, having a good time. And then I tried to plot something, and I tried to make a chart, and it did not work, and I got really frustrated. And I think I ended up using SciPy for that project. So that's my background. It's from JetBrains. JetBrains, they make PyCharm, which is why I brought that up. I know a lot of folks really love their IDEs, so I'm very excited. And like I mentioned, it's still in early access. So without further ado, let's jump in. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also, some of y'all might know me from Kaggle, and Kaggle also has a data science IDE built into their web page. It's one of the things they do. They have a hosted Jupyter Notebook solution. So I've used a lot of Jupyter. I've used a lot of different ways of interacting with Jupyter Notebooks. We're probably going to mess with Jupyter in here, see how that works. I've tried the Jupyter plugins in VS Code. I've used CodeLab. I think most people have. Sorry, Colab, C-O-L-A-B. That's yet another Jupyter interface. I have seen JupyterLab being used. I don't think I've used it. I think the last time I saw like a demo would have been at PyData Seattle in like 2016, and they demoed the CSV million row visualizer, which was pretty cool, but I didn't work with it right after then. All right, so first off, this is too small. Plus, Control plus. Size. Oh, I did look at this right before we started, and I did not get the results that I wanted. Resize, yes. Stretch to left, stretch to right. I want my fonts to be bigger. I'm gonna move me just like in the middle of nowhere here. And I turned on being able to do control and then mouse wheel, but that only changes the terminal font size. How do I make everything else bigger? And this is important for me as a streamer, but this is also good from an accessibility standpoint. Could someone who had, reduced visual acuity still use this IDE? Well, let's see. Font size? Settings, appearance. All right, let's hop in here. Font size, appearance. Also, the contrast on this is a little low. This is just the default that it came with. I haven't changed anything. What if we went to... Woo, okay, it's light now. I don't actually want to sync it with my OS, I don't think. High contrast? Okay, that's pretty good. This may be like a little bit too high contrast for me. Darkula, okay, so this is the one that we were using. Use custom font, all right, and then I'm gonna bump this up to 22. See what that looks like. That's better. Okay, it didn't resize the windows when it resized the font. And, okay, support screen readers is what this says. Use contrast scroll bars. I like this. I visually like this. I think it's pretty restful to look at, but the contrast is pretty low. So I'm going to pick one of the other themes, unless I can just change the contrast somewhere. I don't see nothing. Maybe I can change the color scheme here. Twilight? What's that going to look like? Oh, that's better. Okay, so that's darker background, but the font is the same, and I can also do this. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. We've got a notification here. Failed to load plugins. Okay. No updates available. Okay, good to know. So far so good. It is, I did have to like dig a little bit to find it, but I did find it, so that's good. And I think it's about on par with what it is in RStudio to change the font size. And if y'all have things that you want to find out about, feel free to stick them in the chat and I will keep an eye on it. So let's start a new file. Nothing here. Okay. So can I only create files in the workspace? Touch file. Cool. Oh, that's right. I am not 100% sure what we are using in the terminal here. Looks like it's not bash, unless I'm wrong about touch being a bash command, but I'm like 90% sure it is. Touch bash command. And that should have created a new file, and it did not. Unix like operating systems, AeroShell, Microsoft, Microware, sorry, no, React OS, Linux. All right, so are we using, okay, so I think this is, okay, this is Windows specific, and I don't remember which one it is. Noted. Okay, so it didn't use, like, I think my default is PowerShell or command prompt in VS Code, but I don't know why it would pull my defaults in from VS Code. All right. Can I make a new file a different way? Scratches and consoles. What's a scratch file? Okay, so I can choose what it is. All right. Data lore. Don't think I'm familiar with data lore. Can I do a Jupyter notebook? All right, sure can. So I can do Jupyter or Jupyter Python. Hector HSC says, is this a JetBrains IDE? It is. It is in early access. It's called DataSpell. I made a second scene with information on what we were doing. Yeah, so this is the first time I've ever used it. And it is JetBrains. Well spotted. I lost my... Oop, one sec, I got a little off the edge of the main screen there. So I did lose my little modal. So let's create a new one. And this is Control-Alt-Shift-Insert to create a new Scratch file. And this looks like it could just be like whatever you want. R, first class language support, love to see it. Snowflake, SQL, XML, YAML. All right. Markdown. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking for things that I would use pretty often. It's interesting that Jupyter and Jupyter Python are separate ones. So I'm guessing this one you have to pick your kernel, and this one comes with whatever your default system kernel is. Let's find out. I misclicked. No, whoops. All right. You can go away. I didn't actually want to open you. Let's try this. Jupyter Python. What happens? All right. This is just a py file. This is just a .py file. All right. Oh my god. Okay, so the font changing did not change that. Okay, but I can do my control scroll wheel to change this. Whoop. Yep, go ahead, allow access. Okay. So this Python 3.8.5, which I am pretty sure is what's in my path right now. So I think it's getting this from my path. Because I upgraded to 3.9 and then I downgraded again because I was having issues. So I think this is just taken from my path. And when I tried to run this, I got a PEP8 warning and an unused import statement. All right. I don't actually have any like CSVs just like handy to interact with. I cleaned out my hard drive relatively recently. All right, so let's make pandas make blank CSV. Do I have to look it up? Sure do. Sure do. Oh. Let's follow convention. All right. I just have Stack Overflow open in another tab. Okay, can I just do PD 2? Interesting. I was just gonna do like an empty array, so it's a yeah, okay, so module pandas has no attribute to CSV. Okay. I do like that. And then we've got all our built-ins over here. And all our sysmod. Okay, so these are all of the built-ins. Okay. I like that. And pandas has its own. Okay, and then is there any way that you can like visually see that? Oh, I was gonna say, is there any way we can visually see that this is an alias of this? But I think we ran import pandas and then import pandas as PD. So it's been imported twice in this session. So if I stop, right, and clear this, how would I clear this? Also, this one is super, super, super small now. So if I want to clear this history and start a new session, how would I do that? Browse query history, show variables. So that's, okay, that's that little pop-up with the variables. Okay, so the variables aren't available because I closed the session. So now if I run this whole thing, I just selected it and did Control Enter, I get the same errors. Do I get both pandas and PD? No, I only get PD. Okay, good to know. So it imports, so it shows us our import space with the alias names, not with the, this one. Okay, that's cool. That's pretty neat. I do like that. That's pretty helpful. I could definitely see myself using that. If I wanted to make a tensor, make empty tensor. Tensor Python. I want to see how easy it is to get me the dimensions of the tensor out. From PyTorch. I can pop this over. I don't have to have this over there. So we just have this example, and then it's a NumPy array of 2 by 3 that is empty and is of type float 32. So they've got the X, the Y, and then they're creating a new TensorFlow session, and then empty, X not initialized, you'll have to do it yourself later. So Y was initialized, but X wasn't for reasons. Okay. I had to X specify space and type, not for initialization. Concat, you actually don't. If you're creating an empty tensor, TF zeros will do. That is, in fact, what I am looking for. Thank you. That is the simple dumb answer I didn't want. It's not dumb. That was the simple answer. I wanted to do the simple thing. Ooh. Ooh. No module named TensorFlow. Did I? Oh, I always misimport. Import TensorFlow. I think we actually had specific TensorFlow. Import TensorFlow is TF. Audios tutorials. Yeah. No, it definitely is. Oh, it's PyTorch. PyTorch. If you try to import PyTorch as PyTorch, it is actually just called Torch. That's the one I was thinking of. Actually, what happens if I try to do that? Do I get a special error message for a common error? It's thanking. One error, one warning. Okay, can I see him? What if I asked very nicely? Yeah, okay, no module named PyTorch. No module named Torch. Yeah, I don't think I have it installed right now. Okay, good to know, but we don't get like any specific errors. Import. I gotta install TensorFlow. Let's try that. Installing things is a good thing to check out. So pip install TensorFlow. Is this is in Python, right? So I don't think this is gonna work. Oh, sure enough, it did. All right, and I already have the visual. It's not Visual Basic.net. There's some C dependencies that TensorFlow has on Windows that I have installed in my Conda environments, and I think I also have installed globally. I'm pretty sure. Like I mentioned, I wiped my hard drive recently, so, and I think I set it back up. Thinking ahead. What's the likelihood that this messes up the other projects I have in flight? Pretty low, because those should be well handled with a different environment. I mean, famous last words, but I think we should be okay. All right, fair enough, fair enough. So let's try this. Import Tensorflow. TF, and then TF zeros. What are we thinking? 5 by 1 by 1? No, by 2. Yeah? So we got 2 warnings that we were missing white space. Okay, which I'm okay with. What I really wanted to see was in the terminal, the Python console here, I really wanted to see exit code 0. If we could get the information on test. I just want to see how easy it is to get the information about the dimensions of a tensor. Why is this something you care about, Rachel? Because I would say that 80% of my problems in any given machine learning engineering project are about tensor dimension mismatches. Your mileage may be different, but that tends to be what I get. Nice. Okay. Extremely easy to see the dimensions of the tensor. That is what you like to see. Yeah, and you can see they're all zeros. And those are float zeros. Yeah, okay. Pleased to see that. That looks real good. Yeah, let's try. So this is what happened when I started a Jupyter Python. What happens when I start a regular Jupyter? I'm just gonna do a new, I don't have any directories attached. Can I just do a new scratches and consoles? Okay. Okay, so this is what's in my workspace. These are two things that I've created here. What happens if I delete you? Okay, it just goes away, but I can still search in it. Oop. Let's submit a report just real quick. Because this is, again, this is in early access, so I want to make sure they get all the feedback they can get. All right. And we got, wowee, did we get a lot of errors here? What did we get? We got some CUDA errors. About my, okay, so this is actually really helpful. When I loaded in Tensorflow, I got a lot of errors about my GPU setup, which is really good because that's the other place where you tend to get a lot of errors is in CUDA, which is specifically it's for graphic cards and parallelization of things like training your models. Okay, so far so good. I wanted to try a what's the difference between new and new scratch file? Oh, I have to name this one. So test notebook. I do like that. This does feel very and it's small again. I don't love that I've set my system-wide font and I've zoomed in all my consoles, and every time I open a new console I have to zoom in again. I do wish that it was just sort of big to begin with, or that it was sort of like a system-wide thing where if I have zoomed into one console, when I open a new console, it takes the value for how zoomed it is from the other console. But that may be a streamer problem that most humans don't have. So let's see, is this Markdown? What are you? Okay, so this is definitely Markdown. Sorry, it is not. This is the opposite of Markdown. And we got some errors. Could not inherit name constants from partially unlisted. Oh, Python, interesting. Most likely due to a circular import. All right, okay, Jupyter server stopped. Also the Jupyter notebook was Python by default, and I didn't get a chance to set that. Markdown raw NB can. Oh, okay, so to change something I would need to click into it. And then when I click out of it, it should format. Do I have to start a new? Oh, okay. So it's Markdown, but it's not formatting automatically. All right. And then this one is SSL. What's this trusted mean? Does this mean only a trusted notebook can execute JavaScript? Oh, good to know. Okay, because that is a potential security risk. Okay, I like that. And I like that it's like right there too. Okay. If I want to delete a cell, Can I click on it out here and delete it? No, that just deletes the text. So I have to do this, I'm guessing? Yeah, okay. And if I do a new cell underneath it and then click into that, it still doesn't do the formatting. But it is Markdown. All right. Print this. This is output. What's that look like? Interesting. Okay, so we've got some sort of error. I will say I have been struggling with IPython recently. And I've also been struggling with it in VS Code. So this may not be a JetBrains thing. This may be, or it may not be a DataSpell thing. This might be a my local environment thing. And eventually I just figured out that where I arrived was that it was more important for me that Raza worked than it was that IPython worked. So I just gave up on it. Okay, so that's cool. So we're not going to be able to see our output. How do I change this to... This restarts the kernel. This is Python 3. Code. Okay, I can't change it. So Jupyter should support out the box Julia, Python, and R. That's what Jupyter is, Julia, Python, and R. So those are sort of the three base languages you'd expect to be able to see. And because this is grayed out, I'm guessing that only Python works here. Now what do I get? Typo in the... I'll move me so you can see this. I like quite a bit. So this is in code, yeah, but this is in a string, and they found that I had made a typo and also gave me a really quick way to fix it, to change it to output instead of output, which is what it was. Pop myself up a little bit, which is what it was previously. And this was even without me being able to actually run the code. You can see I have some issues here. That's nice. I like that. Honestly, that kind of makes me want to switch to this from VS Code. If y'all don't know, I'm dyslexic, so spelling is a challenge to me. Okay, I do really like that. Let's check out the R console, because I got some questions here. Oh, okay, so it comes with some pre-installed R packages. Right, basic for encoding. Let's make you a little bit bigger so we can peek into these a little bit. All right. Broom, solid, bootstrap functions, okay. Call R from R. Curl, fantastic. dbplyr, of course. dbplyr is great if you haven't used it. I'm a big fan. dplyr, fabulous. Four cats. Okay, so it looks like there's a little bit of a oh yeah, is there data table? No, there's not. Okay, so it looks like they are trending a little bit more towards the tidyverse side of things than the data table side of things, but I'm sure you can install your own. They just don't come pre-installed. Which I think it makes sense to stick with one over the other for sort of guiding people down a path. They're both good. They both have uses, but data table makes some very strong assumptions about your willingness to manipulate your underlying data that are the opposite of the assumptions made by dplyr, let's say, and sort of the tidyverse group. Okay, ggplot2, great. Oh, fabulous. Okay, so we can play around with some text data that's already involved. Janitor, my fave, love Janitor, always important, always use it. JSONLite, solid choice. Knitter. All right. And is tidyverse here? It's just the other thing, Snowball. Okay. I would, just like as an aside, Snowball is fine. I would probably It's fine for data cleaning if your goal is to visualize and sort of like understand some text. I would not use it for production NLP. That's the end of that sentence. It's just, I would use other methods besides Snowball. Not that it is like inherently bad or anything. UTF-8, fabulous. All right, cool. And YAML. Cool. Okay, so I should be able to, ooh, excuse me, yawn real big. So I should be able to do something like, okay, interesting. Parent environments and then function. Well, now, all right. Okay. So something that people talk about a lot with R is the fact that when you install or when you load a library in R, everything goes into your top level namespace. Submit the report for that and just go ahead and do that. Everything goes into your top level namespace, right? So like in dplyr here, add count is in your top level namespace. Arrange all is in your top level namespace. And what we did here was we loaded in library tidy voice. This is like import in Python. And here the imports are arranged within the imports are arranged, excuse me, within the packages that imported them. So tidyverse is a composite package. It's made of a bunch of different packages. And you can see that they're arranged by, are they a function or which of these is going to have sample data in it? Data sets. Okay, so it looks like it is, do they got the penguin one? That would be a good one to look at. I don't think they do. Excuse me. Okay. Chicken weights. Okay, so it looks like they only mark things if they are a function. And if they are a function, then I can view the code. The reader mode shows documentation. The formatted text enables font ligatures code version more applies only to. Got it. Okay, so is it? Oh, and it takes you right to the docs. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, and so this is just one that I clicked on. So I guess my next question is, let me just look at for this data sets. I'll just pick one. How about attitude? Sorry, I keep doing Control Enter to run the line, but it just entered to run the line because it's console. Okay, so I don't know what any of these fields are. This is just an example, and I'm going to try doing a plot. Wait. Oh, that's weird. So I can, whatever I'm mousing over is what I'm adjusting the font size on. So I can adjust the font size of my active line that I'm currently writing and the history separately. And by default, the control and mouse wheel to change plot, to change font size is off. Okay. Okay. Let's do a plot. Sorry, I keep doing Control Enter. Where does it show up? Because this is very important in data science and art. So what we have here is a new window. It looks like it popped up. So it's a special R tools thing. We've got the documentation. It's a plugin. And this was all, again, I haven't changed anything. This is just base. This is what showed up. And here we have the plots. And this is the default plot. Plot is a built-in function in R. So this is the default plot that you get. And I bet if I had multiple plots, yeah, I could scroll through them here. I can export it and save it. Okay, so this feels a little bit like RStudio here. I can zoom, I can copy to clipboard. That's helpful, especially if you want to share somebody. Clear all, tune size and resolution, choose the engine. Okay, so this is going to be the base R one, and then this is the one that's specific to the IDE. And I can turn off dark mode. Oh, specifically for my plots. Okay. And nothing else. That's kind of nice. And then the viewer doesn't have anything. Okay, so if I want to get rid of this, I minimized it and it's over here. So there's our tools. There's the database. Create a data source with Alt Insert. And I can create from URL. Ooh, from clipboard. All right. Let me Google up a CSV I can copy paste. Simple CSV, and we'll see how that works. Simple CSV files download, get examples easily. I don't trust like that. Really simple CSV library. I just want a simple CSV file. Doom. I've got my own GitHub. I bet I got something on there. Alright, so I'm just in my own GitHub here, and I'm pretty sure, nope, I never saved out any of the data I have as CSVs. I just read it in as YAML and did all my processing online. Cool. Super cool. Good job, Past Rachel. Let me see if I can find... Okay, good. Okay, here we have just a it is a GitHub repository called Code Lab Data. Do I remember where I got it? I do not. Nor do I remember what it was for, but I think this is just like a list of data sets. So this should be a CSV. So let's try data source from URL and give that a shot. Okay, so I think this is more intended for significantly bigger data sets than the simple CSV file I have here, but it might still work. Also, you might be surprised. I think also this may be not for CSVs. I think this may be like very specifically for relational or non-relational databases, whatever type of database you're using. Can I paste it? So I'm gonna go back here. I just want to see the raw and see if I can paste it. Do raw. This might have been for the code lab I wrote for IO a couple years ago. That might be what it's for. No, that would have been on the Kaggle GitHub. I have no idea what that's for. So import from clipboard. I don't think that did anything. I do not think that did nothing. Okay, well, interesting. Also, I don't think this is the intended use. This really seems like it's part of your like EDL pipeline. It is not here for your like small CSV files that you can just read into your Jupyter notebook. And then SciView, data and plots. Oh, run Python console or debugger to view available data. So this is for Python. So this feels very much like SciPy. A little bit. And plots. Python plots will be shown here. Okay. Okay, so these would be for plots you made in the console and not for plots you created in your Jupyter notebook, which would presumably be shown online. All right. And then there's some experimental features that we're not going to get into. Okay. New console, settings, debugger. I do know that JetBrains is well known for their very good debuggers. Soft wraps in the current editor. Oh, that's nice. I like that quite a lot. Scroll to end. Okay. Print. Show variables. Browse query history. Okay. So I was just imagining if you'd been like working on a bug all day and you just like right at the end of the day, you were like, I just want to go to the end, and you accidentally print out your entire console log for the day, which is just like 50,000 print statements of you trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah, it was vaguely funny to me, and the fact that that's where my sense of humor is right now suggests to me perhaps that I'm a little slap happy. This is just water with electrolytes. Okay. Okay, so this is specifically for inside the notebook. Gotcha. Convert cell to Markdown, fabulous. Convert cell to code, it goes both ways, excellent. Rachel, how much of your life has been spent trying to do conversions you couldn't do? Not zero, I'll tell you that. Not zero. All right, and select cell above, control up, control down, add code cell above, add code cell below. No keyboard shortcuts for Markdown cells, but presumably you can do that yourself. You could add them yourselves. Splitting cell, fabulous. That's another big one. Moving them up and down, merge them. Oh, what happens if I try to merge these two? Okay, so it goes to whatever it was. I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna undo that. Sorry, that was me hitting Control Z and wondering why nothing was happening. So it goes to the type of whatever the cell above is. And if I try to merge this one to below, okay, so whatever's on top gets to be the type of cell that it is if they are of mixed types, so like Markdown versus code. And apparently there's a hidden step that we don't see because when I do undo, I have to do undo twice to revert that process. Okay. Cool. Run cell and insert below. Run cell and select below. Run cell, debug cell, run all above, run all below. Okay. Yeah, Python or debug console. Okay, adding some breakpoints, all very good and useful. Refactor. Yeah, we don't really have enough code here. And I don't have any like I mentioned, I clean my file system, so I don't have like a whole bunch of stuff sitting around that I can just poke, grab and shove in here and see what happens. Okay, so I'm guessing this is more for like if you have, you know, a flat Python file and you've got like, you know, a bunch of methods. Ooh. And you're trying to like expand or fold, I guess would be the opposite here, as you need. Format, indentation, reformatting file. Auto indent, that's nice. Optimize imports. Remove unused imports and or reorganize / reorder imports. Okay, that's good. I like that. Sounds like a time saver. I was gonna say space saver. It would not save you space. And then navigate. Okay, so this is just getting around stuff. And then inspection, code cleanup, silent code cleanup. Excuse me. Does this work on notebooks? Nothing to report in any of the files. Okay, cool. All right, so this is all Jupyter specific. This I think would run the same in Jupyter and other environments. This is, you know, the kernel for, I mean, we can try this. We're just gonna get the same error again. Yep. We've got the R console. We also have R jobs. To run a script as a job. Okay, that sounds very helpful, particularly if you're like, I know a lot of folks with more sort of on the quant side, doing like finance stuff, tend to do, you know, pretty hefty stuff with R. So that seems good. And when I would have to pick a working directory and then a script, and then within the copy, do not copy results. Okay, cool. Or for like simulation or anything you were doing like that, that sounds good. And then the terminal, all right, which is question mark. Can I change what it is? More commands using IDE, view mode. Okay, I think not. I think it's probably going to be, this is a heading. Oh, okay, so this is for the whole file. So if I added one here, which was like, this is another heading, some text, etc. So, and then this should be underneath there. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I actually quite like that, particularly for a really long Jupyter file. So you can just sort of, and I bet if I did like a bunch of empty cells, right? And then I wanted to convert you to Markdown. Right. And then I bet it would, there we go. I bet it would, if we clicked in here, right, it would take us up and down. Yeah, it sure does. Okay. Cool. So that's very helpful if you're working on like a very large, a large file. So the workspace is like different files. And if you just want to like be able to, you get rid of it, or you could navigate around within your file, which is good. I really like that. Okay. Expand all, and this is this guy, right? No, this is all of these, I bet. So if I collapse all, yeah, you can see that my little subheading here goes away. Or if I expand all, it comes back. Okay, that's nice. I like that quite a lot. And I can also see this working well for, you know, I don't have a whole bunch of stuff here, but it looks like, oh, okay. I was expecting this to be like, gotcha. Okay, so these are pretty different. The way it looks for a notebook, the way it looks for a file, because this is like the way that all the functions and methods relate to each other, and then this one, which doesn't matter. Interesting. Okay. Inheritance, fields, and then open the stuff, and you can sort them alphabetically. All right, so this is like, the Jupyter Notebook one is a chronological, or like, it's the order that you would read the file in, right? And the flat Python file one is more sort of hierarchical. How do these objects relate to each other? So it's doing much more parsing of the code. So if you are writing, let's write a function in here and see what happens. Rachel, are you looking up how to write a function in Python? Yes, I'm very tired. There we go. Okay, so def test function return 1 + 2. I did not say it was going to be a good function. Okay, and then, okay, so that's not included in the structure. I can make it bigger or smaller. I do have to do that thing again where I need to mouse over the specific thing that I am embiggening or ensmalling. Type 1 word test function. What do you want me to rename it to? Are you upset that I'm not using a different case? Okay, we'll use this case. Okay, so that was just like a stylistic thing. Ooh, Alejandro. And it is not being added to the structure. Okay, so this is really like the way that information is structured inside an IPython notebook, and it's not the way the code is structured. So if you are working on some sort of like more complex sort of object-oriented thing inside your Jupyter notebook, it wouldn't pick up on it. It would if you were inside. So let's hide. I don't want to rewrite this extremely complex function. I am just going to copy and paste it into my other file to show you what I think should happen. So what I think should happen is this should now pop up here with an F next to it. Okay, yeah. And it also has like obviously that. Great. And then if I do that this has test bar in it. I should get an error because I'm not using this, but or not an error, but I should get some like a because I'm not using it. Is this, do they have an inheritance structure or anything? No. Okay, so it is like more like it is like strict inheritance. It's not like, is this being used in this place? Okay, that's good to know. And I got a bunch of warnings. Now I wonder why. Yeah. Remove redundant parentheses. Oh, is this in my return statement? Yep. Fun fact about me, I learned Python 2 first. And sometimes you can tell a little bit. All right, cool. Also, at this point, we have so many things open that I just have like the tiniest amount of screen real estate. And then we have to-dos to list all your to-dos and all your files. So let me to-do, write a function for all the rest of arithmetic. All right, and then in my Python notebook, I'm gonna do I'm gonna try doing to-dos, to do, finish work, and then in this one, I'm gonna write to do, don't finish work. All right. None of those were picked up. I wonder if it's because they are scratches. Block comment should start with a. It's because they're not. They don't have the right, as they say, a punctuation. Rachel, that's not how they say it. Shh. And you look like you're not being picked up. Are you gonna be picked up? What if I save you? Well. All right. So it's Alt-Shift-Enter. If I just click and then do Alt-Shift-Enter, does it automatically do it? No. I have to hover and then do Alt-Shift-Enter? That also doesn't work. It's open. Alt-Shift-Enter. I don't think this is right. I don't think this is actually something that is true. So it will do it when I click on it, but if I undo it, yeah, and then I try to use the recommended thing. What happens if I do Alt-Enter? Okay, so Alt-Enter works, but the Alt-Shift-Enter doesn't. And let me report that. There we go. Okay, good to know. And like I mentioned, this is still in early access, so you would expect to see these sorts of little issues. All right. I will remove the parentheses if it will make you happy. There you go. All right. So then if I'm in here, do I get any to-dos? Okay, so it found one to-do in one file. Can I go to it? Navigate with single click. Expand all. Current file. Scope based. Okay, so it looks like a lot of these functions that work in the Python files don't work in Jupyter. And that could be because my server isn't running. But I don't think this is being done in Python. I think this is something that the IDE is doing in real time, because I don't have to run this code to get the information about the to-dos, right? So yeah, it feels like there's a lot of difference between the way that the Python code is being treated within Jupyter and the way that Python code is being treated within a .py file that I would not necessarily expect. And I understand how it would be difficult. I definitely understand how it would be difficult, and I would say that, like, the things that I expect a Jupyter IDE to have are here, right? Like, I can move cells, I can split cells, you know, etc. Uh, yeah. Raw and convert. So I think this is just being changed to HTML using whatever the string input is rather than Markdown. So if I think I did it here, I would lose my heading status. Yeah, okay. I feel like that's going to be most helpful if you are running this in the trusted state and you've got a lot of visualization code, which is not usually something that I play around with a whole bunch. But if you're like a, like a data journalist, that might be more relevant for you. Shout out to data journalists. Y'all are great. Okay, so we'll double check. Python debug, sync Python requirements. Tools, we've got a, we'll never know. HTTP client and R console. So I have an R console down here, and if I start it here, is it exactly the same? It's just small? Yeah, okay, it's exactly the same. Cool. I do like having a console. I do like the R tools in particular. I think that really fits with my intuitions about how R tools should work. Your own stat said cool mug. Thank you. It was a wedding gift from a dear friend. My husband and I have matching ones. I think he got them in Sweden, because that's where he was doing his master's. That's way more backstory than you needed. Sorry, my filters are not at their normal capacity right now. And then we've got version control. Cool. Right into GitHub. Very cool. Mercurial repository. What's a mercurial repository? I'm guessing this is another type of version control that I'm not familiar with. If it's a JetBrains product, I'm gonna feel dumb. Distributed version control tool for software developers, Microsoft Windows and Unix-like systems. Rachel, do you have Wikipedia open? Sure do. Sure do. Major design goals. Okay, so it's been around for a while. From Subversion. Okay. Under GPL v2, I'm very familiar with that license. And it is written in Python. Oh, good to know. I was not familiar with this. Today I learned. I guess I'm a little bit surprised to see so the Git repository will work with GitLab, GitHub, and then Mercurial. Okay. So I guess they do get like the major players. Neuronset says, I appreciated it. I used to use this IDE for Java. Never thought to use it for R. I mean, this is new. This is brand new. This is still in early access. So perhaps in the future, you might. Yeah. And I don't think any of like the R tools were there previous to this product. So. And then Windows. Okay, so here's where you can do all your special you can set up your environment the way that you want it so that it works good and is the way that you need it to be. I will say I don't tend to, particularly when I'm live streaming, I don't tend to customize my IDEs too much because I want them to look like the default. So if you just like downloaded it and work on it, it'll look the same as mine. Because I know when I was starting to like get more into programming in different environments, I was very scared and I didn't like know where to click, and like everything was different. And I'd had some like my earliest sort of statistical computing work was actually in SPSS, and like the lesson had been like, here's where you click, don't click there, don't click there, click there instead, which did not give me a feeling of like independence. This was like 2009, 2010, like a minute ago, but I've remembered, and yeah. And if that's the situation that you're in, I was there. All right. Various stuff, switching schemes, store current layout as default. Okay, so if you just like, you have one that you like and you can just save that as the default. You can set your notifications, editor tabs. Cool. All right, and then finally the hints and the logs. So if I want to open the logs. Oh, that was Explorer, like my file Explorer. It opened to my other monitor over here. Okay. Cool. So select open file. What does that do? Oh, okay. So if I do, and then I'm here. Nope. I was expecting that because I just closed the IPython notebook. I expected this to select this file. Oh wait, maybe if I do like so. Now should it select this file? Okay, yes. So it is not the open file, it is the file that is currently on top. And just being open is not enough to select that. Gotcha. Stat says, I've actually been thinking about switching to NeoVim instead of using RStudio. I have not heard of NeoVim, but based on the name, it sounds like it sounds like a Shadowrun character. I know what Vim is. Yeah, I said at the beginning of the stream, I am an RStudio stan. I love RStudio. I do have it installed after I cleared my hard drive. So yeah, but I can see, particularly if you're in a mixed language team, how this could be pretty helpful if everyone has like more or less the same IDE. Yeah. So I think big things that like conceptually I didn't have previously were the ideas of scratch files. And I'm wondering if this is like I said, like I tried to use PyCharm several years ago and it didn't work great for my particular use case, so I stopped using it. And I'm not entirely sure if these scratch files, like scratch paper, I get the analogy, but I don't know if it's something that like I should have known going into this. So I'm just gonna look up scratch files and see how common this is. It told me about Scratch, the language for teaching children to program and build video games. Okay, so this is a JetBrains thing. Gotcha. So sometimes you may need to create temporary notes or draft some code outside of a project context. You can use Scratch files. They're just like files that you can mess around with. Okay, and you can also do that with other things. I like that a lot. I think that makes a lot of sense, particularly with things like data science, where oftentimes I just need to like check a graph, and then if the graph is like so, I will change something, and if it is not, I will just delete it and it doesn't matter. I might like write down somewhere that I've made that graph, but I might not. I'm thinking of things for like normalization or outlier detection where I just want to know if it's there or not, particularly if I'm doing data cleaning on a static data set that will not change in the future. And I don't need to set up a whole pipeline, and I just need to like check something for my analysis and then go on with my life. I think scratch files make sense. I also feel better about not knowing about them. Sat says it's basically just Vim, but like with a cool cybernetic eye. That was me. Stats did not say that. Also in RStudio stand. Yeah, RStudio is great. I like tools that do one thing well. That is my preference when it comes to tooling. In general. And then the refactoring and a bunch of stuff that we don't have any files with the next complexity to really get into super deeply. Have we already looked at this? What's a preview tab? What if I do this? Huh? Oh. Your Markdown. Yeah, your Markdown. Okay. Your Markdown? Yes. Sorry, I'm very confused because let me try something real quick and then I'll describe why I'm confused. So the reason I'm confused is that when I closed and reopened this, right, it rendered my Markdown cells as Markdown, right? Like it rendered them correctly. But then when I click into them, they get unrendered. And then when I click back out of them, they stay rendered. And if I just run my current cell, how do I do that? Shift enter. Okay, so I have to run the Markdown cell for it to render. Interesting. That is against my intuitions about how a Jupyter IDE should work. My expectation is that when I click out of a Markdown cell, when it is no longer actively focused with my current cursor, then it should render, and I shouldn't have to run it. But I'm guessing that that might be a security thing, given what we saw earlier with like the, oh, I want this button to make this go away, but it's not doing that. There we go. The trusted thing here, which is now off the side to decide whether or not this is trusted. If I unclick the trusted, does that change anything? No, I still have to run the cell to render the Markdown. Don't love that. So I think the two like biggest pieces of feedback I have right now are that I want my Markdown to render faster and more reactively. And when I click out of the cell, and I shouldn't have to run it to render the Markdown. And the other thing is that when I have a typo, let's try output. Something I know will trigger. Oh no, it took away my, there was a cool thing here where I wanted it. Okay, so the typo detector doesn't work in the Markdown cells. Okay, so the typo detector only works in the code cells. And if I hover over it, zoom over, so you can see it's got a green underline. I want to replace it, right? So I'm going to stay hovering over, Alt Shift Enter. It does not do it, which it says it's going to. Instead, it runs the cell and I get my error. But the other one, the Alt Enter. So I've got to be very careful about putting my mouse on. You stay there. Right? So Alt Shift Enter does not change it. Alt Enter. Alt Enter? Okay, Alt Enter does. Cool. So I think that's my other big piece of feedback is that I think there's a bug with the typo shortcut stuff. Overall, I think it's nice. I like the typo detection in particular. I do wish it worked here in the Markdown cells, because that's often where I'm going to have the most potential to make typos. Also, the difference in this sort of structure view between the flat Python files and the IPy notebook files, so the Python scripts and the Jupyter files, is understandable, but I do wish that I also had, right? Like I wish I had this function in here in this structure instead of just, because I have the expectation that that should be the case, because in my Python scripts, I see the test function here, I see the test variable here, so I know they can be parsed out and put in here, but instead I get the headings of all my Markdown, which is not useful, but I would also like the insight into my code, particularly for things where I have like, you know, a bunch of gnarly models I'm comparing and I want to be able to click through them. So I think those are my big pieces of feedback for the team, but overall, really nice. Oh, also when you're, you know, changing the size of the font using control and mouse wheel, and then you start a new file, right? So let's just do I don't know, just like a new file. It starts over with the small font size again, and I wish it would start over. I wish it would take the font size from another window that you have open. So that's just my preference. Those are, I think, my pieces of feedback. None of them are big. None of them are like super life-changing. I really like the R tools view. This, so you can't see here, but earlier when we had plots, there we go. The plots showed up. There's a viewer, and then there's documentation. That very much squares with my instincts about how a R IDE should work. I like the side view as well, so it's like the same thing but for Python. The one thing that I think, I get that this is coming from people's expectations having used, you can't see my mouse. I get that that's coming from people's expectations from having used SciPy, and I get that that's why it's called that, or like Spider. But I would maybe put a Python symbol there and make it clear that this is Python and this is R. And also this database connector I can see a lot of use for. I don't have like a database spun up anywhere that I can add in here, but I think that there's a lot of call for that, and I like the number of sources as well. So I think that's my first impressions. Overall, I like it. I think it would be useful. Particularly if you're in a case where you are doing both like analytics and also machine learning engineering. I can see it being very useful for that, where you're trying to flip back and forth between those two use cases. Because right now there's like RStudio, which is, I mean, not that you can't do machine learning engineering in RStudio, but it's really focused on more of the statistical computing and analysis. Or you can use like VS Code or whatever for your, or, you know, PyCharm for your machine learning engineering, but being able to combine those in a single IDE, I think is quite nice. And I really like the way that plots are handled. I think for me, that's the biggest sticking point with like VS Code, is the way that plots are handled. So yeah. And I'll pull up the, if you're looking for more information, they've got their website is, it is JetBrains.com/DataSpell, and they have a sign up for the preview, and and also there's like some machine learning stuff that we didn't get to that I saw a little pop up about, but I do want to see. Can I get to that back? Yeah. Okay. So machine learning assisted completion. The relevant item is marked with a star on the completion pop-up. How is it for you? I don't remember what we were looking at that point. Yeah, interesting. So it sounds like there's also some sort of like completion recommendation engine built in there as well. So I think that's what I've got to say about this. I hope you found this helpful. If you're interested in learning more, head over to JetBrains, sign up for the EAP. Yeah, and I will see y'all. The next stream that I'm doing just for like my personal stuff is gonna be next Tuesday at 4:30. What'll we do? I don't know, something. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Hector. You're awesome. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great evening. I guess night, morning, I don't know where y'all are. And I'll see you next week, same time, for something related to data science and or NLP. And the Raza live stream will be tomorrow morning for the office hours. I'll actually be with Chris Keds, who is a researcher at Raza. So same Twitch channel, but the Raza YouTube channel. All right, so I'll see you when I see you, and have a great day. Bye.